Today on TapRackBang.TV, we're going to be talking about slings. Hang out with us and check it out.
This episode of Tap Rack Bang is brought to you by 303 Arms.
Today we're going to be looking at slings. Now, more often than not with today's shooter, most of us are just using our slings as carry devices, some way to put the gun when we're not holding it. But the sling was actually designed for supporting our shooting position and making us a more accurate shooter. We're going to look at some of those different styles and what they can be used for. What I've got in my hands here is a trainer rifle we use for teaching sling positions and how to manipulate a GI-style web sling. The GI-style web sling goes a long way back, obviously started with our military, and they needed a way to carry their rifles, but also realized what a huge advantage you have when using the sling system to support your position. We're going to look at a couple different ways we can use this particular sling. Now, there's a couple features that make this really neat. It's got a quick adjust front end, so we can slide that back and forth very rapidly. And then we also have this buckle back here. And we'll look in one of our sling positions. We actually use this buckle to help us out to support the gun. So first, let's look at the hasty position. So the first position we're going to look at is the hasty position, and with the hasty sling, we're going to have it anchored at the front and the back of the rifle. As far forward as you can get it and as far back as you can get it are typically the best spots to have those anchored at. And most rifles are going to come with some type of bipod sling stud available there to your sling swivel. So what we're going to do is first we're going to adjust the sling so that if we had a trigger guard here, we'd be sitting about that much lower. So I want to adjust it to it's about the distance of my hand from the sling to my trigger guard. That'll give me a rough idea on how long this sling needs to be. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to keep the rifle pointed in our safe direction. We're going to bring it up and we're going to stick our non-shooting arm through the sling. I'm going to stick it down and I'm going to put it all the way down as far as I can, and then I'm going to take the non-shooting hand, I'm going to take it up, I'm going to wrap around the outside and then bring it up through, and I'm going to place my hand on the rifle. And I'm just going to snug this down, and I'm going to place it right up into position here. Now you can see what this has done is instead of giving us 1, 2, 3, 4 points of contact with the rifle, by getting into the hasty sling, we've now added 1, 2, 3, 4 points of contact with our body. So we now have 8 points of contact. We're also able to pull the rifle in tighter to us, which is going to give us a much more stable position. Now, it's very critical to get your arm underneath the rifle as much as possible, but from a standing, unsupported position, this is going to give you exponential results on your target downrange when used properly. So let's take a look at the next one, which is called the hasty hasty. The next one we're going to look at is called the hasty hasty, or the rapid hasty sling. So this is just going to be a little quicker to get into. It's a very field expedient position. I keep the sling in the same exact position I would in the hasty, but instead of wrapping the arm all the way around, we're just throwing this sling around the back of the shoulder. So we're adding 1, 2 points of contact, so it's a very quick acquisition. We can get up into it very fast, so for a lot of hunters, a lot of sportsmen, and a lot of military, this is a very good, if you're using a carry sling, you can get into this very fast, and will give you a lot more support than you would without a sling. How this all plays into when we carry the gun as well, most of the time we're going to have the gun slung over our shoulders. This is more like what we would consider a GI carry. Okay, you're going to have the muzzle straight up in the air. We're going to be carrying it so we can control the butt of the gun. Rifle rests over our shoulders. The problem with this is when we try and get out of this, it's very difficult to keep the gun pointed in a safe direction and get it out and available to shoot. What we can do is we can carry what they call either bush carry or African carry. We can carry with our muzzle pointing down and over our shoulder. What this does is it gives us lower clearance if we're traveling through trees and brush and things like that. I can have my hand located in a sling area down here and controlling the muzzle of the gun at all times. And if we needed to get that up and out, it goes straight at our target, it wraps around, and see how my arm naturally comes into that hasty loop position. So my sling is carried so that I can get directly into my shooting position. This is why that's the rapid hasty. Very quick, come right out, I'm up and on my target. The third one we're going to look at with the GI Web sling is the loop sling. And this is going to be the most difficult to get into and out of, but it's going to be the most stable in my opinion. Everybody has their own style that they like. I really tend to shoot this GI loop sling in the loop position the best. So if we take a look, we're only going to have the front of the sling attached to the rifle. So we're going to actually take the rear sling attachment out. I've just popped it out of the loop. It's got this quick slip piece on the back. And then we talked about that buckle earlier. And if you'll notice here in the middle of the buckle, I've pulled the loop up and through the center of the buckle. So we're looking at the center piece is pulled open, and I'm just going to slide that open so it's wide enough where I can get my arm in there. Okay? When you see this here, you notice how all the junk, all the extra loop is on the inside. We're going to take that and we're going to flip it a quarter turn to the right so that all the junk will be on the outside of our arm. We're going to take and place that up into the arm as high and tight as possible. I want it to get up all the way underneath my armpit almost, over the bicep, and by being over the bicep, it's going to hold that up there. We're now going to take and we're going to pull that down and just cinch it up, and by putting more pressure on this, because we've gone through that loop, it will now suck that tight onto our arm and will not allow it to slip down. From this position, it's very similar to the hasty. We're going to take the arm and we're going to wrap around and put underneath and then bring the rifle up to our shoulder. Now, I may have to adjust this because my adjustments on a hasty sling are not going to be the same as they are on the loop sling. So I can just open this up, I can pull it back. I want plenty of tension on that, and it's going to change depending on your position. A standing position is going to be a little tighter than a prone position because we're stretched out more in the prone position. Once we lock that down, we can also move this back if this is bothering you here, but once we lock that down and get the arm underneath, that's a very stable shooting position to be in. We can use this in prone, we can use this in sitting, we can use this in standing. I prefer it mostly for a prone and sitting position where my elbows and the rest of my body will be able to be supported. Otherwise, I like the hasty or the hasty or the rapid hasty because we get those extra points of contact with the body and the arms. If my arms are supported, like in a prone or seated, this one works really good and is very easily adjustable between the two. Next time when we come back, we're going to be taking a look at some of the more modern style slings, the single point, the 2-point, and then we're going to be looking at an old throwback from the past. So remember guys, a sling can not only be used for carrying the gun, but it can also be used to improve your marksmanship and your accuracy. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, keep your blade sharp and your powder dry. We'll see you at the range. Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate all you guys checking out our last couple of videos. Make sure that you head over to our YouTube page, TapRackBang.TV, and make sure you subscribe to that so we can make sure we're giving you guys the best quality content that we can.